here I am cutting out my key image, which is just all the black areas from my drawing or printout. You can see I'm using a utility knife, and it's time-lapsed, so obviously it's going to take a lot longer to cut it. I've switched to an X-Acto knife, and I tried both, and I found that I had more control with the X-Acto knife, but I would sometimes have to go back and recut areas with it, whereas with the utility knife I had a little bit more force. So just make sure you're cutting away from your finger.
I've got my stencil cut. Hopefully you can see that there. You can tell that I only cut it through one side, so that gives me a second side of the manila folder to make into a second stencil for a color. So a quick and easy way to do that is just kind of make sure that's pressed down. And I took a little bit of Higgins Magic Black ink, but I'm pretty sure you could use any just like generic acrylic paint, dilute it in water, put it in a spray bottle. Obviously, if you won't have some spray paint and you want to use that at home, you can. Make sure you do it outside. You're wearing a respirator and stuff like that. You're being careful with it. But I don't have spray paint at home, so I just took a little bit of that ink, diluted it in water, and made my own sort of spray bottle. I'm going to put down some newsprint so I don't get ink all over. And this also gives me kind of a preview of how it's going to look on my paper later. Alright, if I flip that over, ta-da! I've got my stencil. Pretty cool, huh? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let that ink dry, and then I'll cut my second layer. So we're just going to pause this. Hey everybody, I gave that ink a chance to dry. I also took a paper towel and blotted it, and I thought that was kind of cool how that turned out. And that just got the excess ink off, so it dried quicker. And then that reminded me of the reason why we put tape on the front side, and that's so I can just pull that off with a paper towel. If I didn't have the tape, and again, you can get away without using the tape, it's not the end of the world. But if I have the tape, it kind of protects that paper layer, makes it last longer in case I want to reuse it. So for my second stencil, I'm just going to cut the silhouette of the portrait of myself with a gas mask. And this is from a photo I took for a print I made maybe about 5 years ago, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to revisit it. So I'm just going to go with a Sharpie and just trace around where I want to make those cuts. And so this stencil is going to be much faster to cut. That stencil I demoed earlier, the detail that I just sprayed ink through onto this, that took me about, I want to say about 45 minutes. But I was interrupted a few times by my wife and children, so it would have taken me less time to do it, or maybe longer if I'd been on my own to just kind of spend time on it. But one thing to be careful about is, make sure you're aware of where your hands are at when you're cutting. When I went back and looked at the video, I noticed that it looked like I was cutting really close to my hand, to my fingers specifically, and I think part of that was just the angle of the camera. But I did have to kind of hold down the paper and support it as I was cutting away from it. And that was the one thing you want to be careful about, again, is you never cut towards your hand. You're always kind of cutting away from your hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut. And so for the color layers that I'm going to use for this, I'm going to mix up a little bit of green acrylic paint and just try to go with some sort of like camo, kind of military green colors. Nothing too exciting. I might see if I have like a perfume bottle. I used to collect those from students or from my wife, who doesn't wear much perfume, so I've had the same couple bottles for quite a long time. But I would use those to do sort of similar tricks in my drawings. Um, I've in the past made a bunch of giant charcoal drawings using stencils and whatnot for backgrounds and different color layers and stuff like that. So you can get that. One thought that has just occurred to me after I've cut this guy out is that I probably should have put a layer of tape on this side of the manila folder as well, just for this side to protect it. But we'll see. I'll try to do my 6 prints without protecting it, and then I'll have the other side protected, and we'll just see how they react. Maybe the tape that I put on the first side was just kind of overthinking it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause it and see if I can find a better spray bottle, and we'll do a couple